super secret these days. Anything you can talk about from Saturday, or did you get the result you were looking for?
Well, I don't know about that. You know, I thought it was really productive. That's what I would say. It was good for us. You know, I think if it's out, I mean, I haven't even checked and all that. So if it's out there, I mean, we scrimmage Pittsburgh, and I think Jeff will have a good team. Like, I think he'll have a smart, old, tough team, and that was really good for us. There's some things they do style-wise that were different than what we've played against on an everyday basis in practice, and that was really healthy for us. We learned a lot. We had a chance to address some things, and we've had a more spirited week of practice this week for sure.
Coach, as you get closer to the season, what are some of the finer details that you're working on over these last few days to prepare for that season opener?
Yeah, I don't know if there's anything that's like mind-blowing from a preparation standpoint. It's, you know, honestly, we've had overall to date, I'm proud of the preseason that we've had. You know, I think when you get into that last week and you got some practices, it's going to be the same when we get a chance to get a week of practice during the year. The first thing you're going to do is make sure you're checking the fundamental boxes, right? I mean, are you know, whether it's the fundamentals, skill-wise, passing and catching, and pivoting, and shot fakes, and finishing, you know, cutting, screening, and all. You're going to try to check those boxes. And every time you get a chance as a coach, I think you got to try to check those. And then it's the same thing defensively. Are we going to, you know, we building the right fundamental habits and defensive principles? And it's the very basic stuff. So I think that's the main focus. But as it's been all preseason, we're kind of trying to continue to build and make sure that we have the right amount of things in to play a game, because the first real one is Monday, and that's when it matters for the first time.
Any update on Day since Media Day?
Yeah, we've held him out. You know, and I don't have a update on when he'll be back. I don't think it's one of those things that's going to be forever. I don't think it's one of those things that he'll be practicing today. But I will tell you guys that we're going to be cautious with him, because his role in this team is really important to our success. He's a leader on this team. He's obviously a great returning player and has gotten better. And so we want to make sure that, you know, we bring him back in the right fashion, that we don't rush things, that we also don't go from 0 to 100, right? So it's not like he's not doing things. I mean, he's shooting and doing some things like that, but we're not going to rush it back given the time of year that we're in, because we don't want this to be something that he's dealing with, you know, all season long. We want to make sure he gets back to feeling like he did a couple weeks ago.
Is this a good opportunity for the other guys to come in and get those extra minutes, though?
You know, like in our scrimmage against Pittsburgh, you know, not having Day, who's has a massive role in this team, yeah, that creates different types of opportunities and different combinations, and that's basketball. You know, that's any sport. And so, yeah, I think there's always a way to look at it like that.
With Day, you know, possibly missing time, the versatility of Connor and Seamas, like how important is that for the team if, you know, Day does miss a few games or anything like that?
Well, I don't want to sit here and say that he's not going to play Monday, because I don't think we've even broached that yet. I mean, it's been a day-to-day, week-to-week thing. What I'm telling you guys is that we're just not going to go from 0 to 100. So it's not like he's not doing any basketball activities. You know, he's shooting. I mean, he's like, so I don't know if he's going to miss time or not, but I do think, and I think I'm not holding any information. Like, I think that'll be a decision we'll make, you know, over the next 5 or 6 days. But when you have to have depth in college basketball, and you know, that was important to us as we were putting our roster together, and we have depth. So yeah, there's a number of guys that should be able to collectively fill a void, but no doubt about it. I mean, I feel a lot better if Day-Day's playing.
Wes, it was apparent last year you had a hungry team. Do you feel like you have a supremely confident team now with this group?
I think you derive confidence from your work ethic, right? And I think you get really confident as a group when you go through some things together and overcome some things together. So I think we've had a respectable work ethic this off season. We have a group that's been through stuff together, at least some of these guys a year ago. We have a group that's going through some of those things now and will continue to. So, I don't ever want to sit here and make any statement about we're this or that, because it's still October. It's not even Halloween yet, right? What we're going to be will be very different than what we are now. But I expect us to be more confident than we were at this time last year because of what I just mentioned. And I expect that to keep growing as we continue to work hard and put our time and effort into it. And then we continue to go through things together as a group. I expect our confidence to grow throughout the year.
This team, I mean, you got a lot of guys that came back that played significant minutes from last year to this year. We've seen the evolution of the team. How more equipped do you feel like this team will be ready for the Big 12 because of the minutes you guys have already played and already gone through the dance once before?
Yeah, I've said this a number of times. Our continuity from a year ago, it should be a strength. And if we're going to have the kind of year that we think we can have, or we're capable of having, then it will be a strength. But we can't just sit here and act like it's going to happen just because. We have to go out in that gym every day. And again, for the most part, I've been proud of that to date, but we got to make it a strength because it should be and it can be, but it's not going to just happen just because. It's because we got to continue to keep working and growing and all that kind of stuff. But like I said, to date, in a big picture way, I don't have any complaints about these guys' approach or work ethic. I've been proud of that.
CJ had an interesting season last year, struggled with the hamstring injury, didn't really come back at the end of the year. What have you seen from his mindset and how he's approaching this year, and are you expecting him to be 100% healthy going into the start of the season?
Yeah, CJ is so reliable. Like you walk in the gym and you know what you're getting every single day. He's mature. He understands like how to approach this like a professional. And it's just steady every day. And that's been important, not just this year. It was important for us last year. And when we didn't have that, it affected us a lot. He's had a good summer from a health standpoint. He's had a really good fall and preseason from a health standpoint. And so, yeah, I mean, my expectation is that continues, right? There's been no reason to think that it won't.
How do you judge a good practice, and does that judgment change when it's an off-season practice versus an in-season practice?
No, a good practice, it's very, very simple. It's a great question. Did we reach our standard for our approach during that practice for the things that we can control? How we care, how we work, the edge or toughness that we want to play with, and then how we respond to things good and bad. Like that, if we reached our standard, and we've set standards for what that means in those areas, to me it's a good practice because that means you got better. Because the idea of every practice is that you improve, right? I never gauge a practice on how many shots we miss or make, or how many mistakes we make. But if our approach, the stuff that you have control over, if it's at the standard that we've set, and hopefully better, hopefully that standard's rising, then I think it's a very productive practice. And I think our guys, I think they understand that same evaluation of it. And we talk about that at the end of every practice. Did we do that or did we not do that? And if we did, we feel like we accomplished something that day. And most of the practices we've had, we've been able to say that.
Wes,
You mentioned after the Ohio State game how you wanted this team to come in and approach practice that week like it was a 30-point blowout. Is that the similar mindset following the scrimmage versus Pitt with 1 week heading into Arkansas Pine Bluff?
Yeah, I think what I was really referring to is just that regardless of, you know, the results of what just happened, that you turn the page and you're just as hungry to improve, to grow, to get better, to attack it and approach it. And you could say that's when you have success. You can say it's when you have failure or anything in between. And that's the kind of mindset we're trying to have every day we walk in the gym, whether it's the summertime, the fall, the preseason, in season, whether it's in March. I mean, you're just trying to come into the gym with the right mindset, right approach every single day. And again, I'm proud of the steps we've taken to have that type of an approach and that type of a culture, but we're not there yet. You know, we're still growing it.
You've been playing a fair amount of guys. Do you anticipate that throughout the non-conference, and will that work itself out, or do you anticipate playing 8 to 10 guys?
I think we've always, especially early in the year, you know, I guess year 14 years as a head coach, I think early in the year we're always going to play, you know, play a number of guys. I think number one, you build and utilize the depth of your roster. That helps continue to develop players within your program. And I never understood how you play, you know, 5 or 6 guys in November, and then, you know, if something happens, you're playing somebody in January that hasn't had experience. I mean, you got to develop your team, and I think, again, depth is a strength of this team, and so we should be able to have a team where a lot of different guys can contribute.
Do you look at it differently with a 20-game, 10-week, you know, gauntlet once Big 12 play starts? You haven't lived it yet, but do you look at that and think even more than ever we might need to develop that depth because it's going to be, you know, exhausting getting through that Big 12 slate?
It was I've said it, man, it was awesome last year. Like, it was hard and it was challenging, and I would imagine that, you know, I guess there's a couple teams in our league. I would guess even the teams in our league that were sitting at the very top of it felt like by the end it was really challenging last year. That's how hard our league is. You know, I would, again, I mean, we had, you know, Houston and Kansas and Iowa State, Baylor. These guys were all high seeds in the tournament, and I'm probably forgetting somebody, but I would venture to guess if you asked their programs and coaches, and they finished at the top of our league last year, that they said, man, that was hard, and that challenged us, and like the day after day, the game after game. And I'm saying all that because it's awesome. It's what brings the best out of you as a competitor. And so last year's schedule did. Well, now, as you said, it's 20 league games and 20 play dates. So there's no buys. We had two buys. It was 8. I want to say it was
18 games.
18 and 20 play dates last year. So you take away those 2 buys, I think it's going to put an even higher level of mental and physical stress on your team in January and February when the games, obviously, because they're in league, you know, matter a little bit more. And the good news is it's equal. It's not like that's just the Bearcats and everybody else gets a bunch of buys. I mean, that's the whole league. But I do think depth mattered last year in the Big 12. I think it'll for sure matter quite a bit this year. Yeah.
2 more. CMOS mentioned at Big 12 Media Days, one of the reasons he wanted to come back was this being the best place for his personal development. How much has the addition of Tim Buckley helped with that continued development of your perimeter players and team as a whole?
Yeah, I got a great staff, guys. I mean, I probably said that a number of times publicly. I won't stop saying it. I'm fortunate there, very fortunate. And so, you know, when you talk about our players' personal and development as players, right? So their development on the court or physically, but also their personal development. Our entire staff has a massive impact on that. I think we value when we add people to our program and our staff, we value people that align with that. Like we have those values. So if we're going to hire somebody, we want somebody else that has those shared values. And I think for the most part, we've done an excellent job of attracting people like that. Tim Buckley is one of us in that way. So yeah, he's having a profound effect on our guys for sure, like the other guys on my staff.
Put a ton of work in to earn a spot in the preseason poll. What do you hope the atmosphere is like those opening 3 home games here, West, to kick off the season?
Oh man, listen, I'm always just, you know, we talk about gratitude a lot in our locker room, and I'm always grateful when I walk out of that tunnel that I coach at Cincinnati, because there's a lot of people that care, and so, you know, every time I've run out of that tunnel, you know, I don't ever take it for granted, but I appreciate the people that are in their seats and screaming and cheering for us, and you know, all those kind of things. So yeah, we talk about it with our players. We talk about it with recruits. We think we have one of the best environments in college basketball, and you know, I look forward to our fans going out there and proving that statement right. I really do. But I don't have a lot of concern about it. I would say keep doing it, but do it even better.
Thanks, Coach.
Yeah, thanks, guys.